Welcome to Not Factory Approved. I haven't said this for about 120 videos, so I thought maybe it's time I did. The purpose of this channel is to not necessarily show the best way of doing something, it's to show a way of doing something. And if you've been watching for a while, you know that I've learned as I go. So I want to encourage you, don't be afraid to try new things. And if you really can't stand to destroy something, then practice on something that you can destroy, and it's not a big deal. Otherwise, you'll gain lots of experience and you'll be satisfied with your results, or not, the more you practice. So keep practicing, don't be afraid. Or should I say, ADD Garage. I seem to have trouble focusing. Start one project, leave that for a bit, start another project. So now I'm going to check the oil and I've checked the oil, it's pretty dirty. And now I'm going to look at inside the automatic overdrive transmission. It's an 86 with a rough history. So to do that, to change the oil first, which is one of my concerns, to take a plate off of here, which is 2 bolts. There are 13 millimeter heads. Then there's a plate, which I've cleaned, which covers it. Take that off. The plug is here. The drain plug. That's a 10 or 11 millimeter head. Try it again. Slipped out of my hand. 11 millimeter head there for the drain plug. I don't know if it's got 2 or more, but that one was right there and visible, so I used it. So I've drained the oil out of the torque converter, and now I will put the plate back on and start working on getting the pan off, which is never a fun job if they got oil in them. No drain plug, it's always an adventure of mopping up. So now how to drain the transmission. There's no drain plugs on almost all automatic transmissions, especially ones from the 80s. And up. So this is one of my least favorite jobs. The pan has to be dropped, and then all the oil that's in there flows out. So it's a potential huge mess on the floor. So what I'm going to do, from past experience, I'm going to take out all the bolts on one side. Then I'll take out the ones on the back just because they're awkward. And then I'll start lowering it. I'll lower these, extract these bolts more than the others, and try and get the pan to dip, and to get it to dip on one corner. And that makes the least mess. So here goes. Well, it didn't go quite according to plan, but I knew it wouldn't. A little bit of stuff there on the floor, a little bit of stuff on my arm, a little bit of stuff on the edge of the drain pan, but it's not a flood on the floor. Nothing serious to clean up. So I'll just let that run, and then I will do more. This is the inside of the pan. See, it's not looking great. There's a bit of stuff in there. Not terrible, but not great. But really shouldn't be too concerned, I guess. There's no chunks of anything, and there's no obvious shiny paste. It's just a little bit of aluminum. You can see some reflections in here. I don't think that's too bad, considering it's, how old is this thing now? Not quite 40 years. 37 years old. Fast math in my head there. So let's clean it up and see if there's any rude awakenings in there. So there's the valve body. I've taken the filter off here. There's 3 8mm head bolts that hold it on, and they're all visible from the passenger side, or the right hand side of the vehicle, if you ever happen to have a right-hand drive version. I don't know if those exist or not, but probably do. since they were sold to Australia. So that is the state of affairs at this point. One thing to note, when you take the filter off, you will get a bunch more fluid dropping out from this hole here, the main pickup, and from the filter itself, getting stuck in this little recess here. So be ready for that. Fortunately, I had the drain pan under it. So I'm not going to take the valve body off. I'm just going to assume that since there's no real pieces of metal in the tray, in the pan, that I'm just going to put fluid back in and say it's good. And then we'll find out when we actually draw. So I cleaned out the pan. I just used a rag. There are a couple of dents in it which I hammered out. And it looks good. It cleaned up quite nicely. I just used a rag because there was nothing really gummy in there. It wasn't terrible. And I can get it all out of all this garbage out of the script. It's okay. I just took a hand wire brush, scraped off the gunk that was on the outside. And I will put it back on once I take and blow out the lines to the cooler, the transcooler up at the front. And then I will probably undo the transmission rear mount so I can jack it up and make it easier to get the pan bolts on at the front. Because the frame runs right close there and it's very hard to get bolts in. So, onward and upward, or backwards, who knows. Here's the clean pan with the gasket on it. I put some silicone gasket seal around just to hold it in place more than anything, because it was folded up in a package for quite a while, I'd say. The parts guy in town said he had a lot of trouble finding one, which was a big surprise. I thought they made about 1 million of these things. Anyway, getting older, I guess. So I'll just put it back in the truck and I'll make sure that the gasket doesn't move. I'll put the bolts in. And then I will disconnect the transmission lines from the transmission and blow them out, so I don't blow any crud back into the transmission. Okay, pan is clean, oil lines are blown out, reattached. Now I will torque up the bolts that hold the pan on. You can just tighten them up, but I don't really want a problem from over torquing or under torquing, so I'm going to find out what the torque spec is and do that. And with it jacked up to the max, my universal, here, let's do it two-handed. So here's the drive, 10mm socket on it. You can see there, it just makes it. So it's a little tricky, but can be done. Honest. Of course, it helps if you have a universal drive that doesn't flip-flop all over the place. There. Okay, now check this torque. Now I don't have a manual for the automatic overdrive, or for this truck in particular. I do have a Haynes manual. And not referring to nylons, I don't wear nylons, but I do know about them. Part of the, well, we won't go any further than that. So, going back to Haynes as in vehicles, it says that the maximum torque for an M8 bolt, which is what is holding the pan, is 14 to 21 foot-pounds. And I tried that, and it started to not feel good at all. And then it occurred to me, that's a steel bolt and a steel case, or a block, or something like that. So there's no way it's going to torque up to 21 foot-pounds. So I have a 78 Ford truck manual, factory, and so I checked with the C6 and the C4 transmissions, and they are 12 12 to 14, I think it was. 12 is the number that stuck in my brain though. And so 12 would be 144 inch-pounds. I've torqued it up to 140 and it feels fine. So I'll give it a little bit more. I'll try the upper end, 14, see what it feels like, and if it feels good, that's what I'll stick with. So I'm going to recommend 14 foot-pounds. Or, what would that be? 164 inch-pounds. What a brain. Not 164, 168. 144 plus 24. The RTV I used on the pan has a 24-hour set period, so I'm going to have to, it keeps tightening up, so I'm just going to have to wait. So Monday I will finish torquing them. And I've changed the oil, and it was very dirty, or I knew it would be, but it also, the engine oil that is, but it also didn't have any shiny bits in it, and it looked pretty good, so that's good. Nothing came out, and there was nothing on the magnet for the drain plug either, so that's a good sign. Let's keep going. Okay, sorry for the very dirty windshield. So let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe, I don't know. It's hard to tell. There we go. A little bit of power. A bit unstable, back end. No, this got worse. Oh well, head home. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or even notify, or any of the above, or all of the above. Thank you.